We're back. Glad to be with you. It's the Crypto Sniper. And we've got an important video to share with you today. During the course of today, we've got a lot to share. So we're going to talk to you about Bitcoin, why a certain big YouTuber was a bit bearish, Bitcoin and Ethereum not making the 21-day EWA, exponential moving average. We'll talk about Ethereum. We'll also talk about XLM. We'll also be talking about XRP. We're going to be talking about HBAR as well. We'll take a run by there, and we're going to take a run by a couple of the other major cryptos and the totals, total 2, total 3, and how last week when we were looking at that, we were seeing the big moves that we're expecting to come, particularly like the total 3 look of things. Of course, we've got XRP, potential ETF filings. I think this is going to be a big driver. I think we're going to get some spurting and upside moves coming out of that. So this should be good. This should be good. This should be good. So we've got a lot to show you. And let's get straight on it. Let's get started. Charts, and more charts. And I want to see also that everybody gets a little bit of why we've stuck our head out and continued to be determined to say that the alts are going to have this run. And let's go and have a look right now at what it's going to do. So entire screen coming up. Get ready for the share. Let's make sure that happens. And we are sharing. Okay, Bitcoin. Let's hope that that's now showing for you all on the share screen. I'm watching on the other screen now, and let's have a look. Make sure the volume is off. Too many Francis's. That's it. We are now in business. So that 108K level that we've been telling you about was an important level. Continues to show that it's been an important level. We've discussed this before. I refer to it regularly. No one else was highlighting this, but it's an important number, and it's kind of a random number. It's 108. You came back down to this level. It was the 93. That was another pretty random level that used to be a very important number that we spoke of often back then. You can see the resistance. Then you can see reluctant, but not holding the breaks above 108, reluctant, not holding, eventually getting to 108, getting rejected, and then forming that first little squeeze sitting on 108, which we've regularly compared, and obviously on a lower time frame, you'll see it more clearly, to the gold 2000. Where you then ran right the way up to the 3,000 target that we expected, and then we got some overperformance on that. So we went into a broadening structure, which is typically a little bit of concern. And yep, it is a broadening structure. Then we've spotted for you the 117-ish. I would say it's a 117.3. Let's get a good number for you. It's about 117.350 over there. A little bit of a W bottom, and here's that 108. Coming back and serving as support. We called it before when you were in the down leg that you'd dribble back into range. You did that. Then you had quite a hard sell. And we were saying on our last stream, you might break it. I don't know if it'll hold. It could not. And it's turned out it held. It didn't even touch the 108 in the end, most of the time trading the 109, and actually came back more momentous. So let's just let you see that chart without all the jaws and the Picasso work. So quite a nice little pop back up to the upside that gives you that W bottom. There's a possibility of a minor right shoulder and a right shoulder. We talk about the complexity in heads and shoulders where you sometimes get the double heads, which goes kind of like a double bottom head with 2 tiny shoulders. The shoulders are usually a lot smaller when that happens. That's what you learn when you come on board with us, all about the complexity in head and shoulders and the different family trees in which they exist. There will be a link where you can book a call, have a chat, and you can even go get our free mini series as well. We'll be talking about that. Live training day on Fake Number Day. Yes, fake number is the non-farm payrolls. We told you it's a big lie. They finally started admitting that lie. So you know you have the stagnation in the economy, and now you're going to find out about the CPI lie. That's going to be coming at you soon. That what they tell you as CPI is not CPI. So you are in a stagflationary environment. What does that mean for crypto? Well, we'll talk more about that. We'll join some dots. But the first move for this Bitcoin up to here is around 128. But is that where the action is going to be? We want to go and take on head our friend who popped over to say hi. Well, we've lost him. Where was it? I think it's into Cryptoverse, who was saying that Ethereum needs to go all the way to the 21-day moving average, and that Bitcoin dominance is going to be the key thing. Well, we don't really fully agree on that side. and we'll be showing you. Never mind, we'll go back to Benny Boy at another time. It's not about him. He's not a bad guy. I don't know him too well. He's very good at getting a good following, so good luck to him. We said to you last time we expect something that will form a rising wedge and end up seeing the Bitcoin dominance going down. As you can see, he's quite happy with Bitcoin dominance going up. Oh, look, Bitcoin dominance is going up. It always leads after you've had a little bounce. Why did it bounce? Because technically it came to a key level. That's why. It's turned. It turned a long time ago. He's cheering for the rallies in a bear market in Bitcoin dominance. Jack Gold, $10. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. Been following you for years. Can you please check Velo and Algo and charts? I will include them in the end. Let me get through all of this, Jack, but I will come back to you. Velo and Algo Rand. I will remember them. Okay, so this points to a degree of, I believe, rising wedge. I assess technically, let me not say rising wedge. And we've highlighted that for us was a flag on the way down. And of course, you slowed down and then broke. And this is typical of a return move and our key levels at 58 and 57.63 that go back previous cycles as significant. That's the value of HVF method. You can see we had open territory once we broke here. So from that flag break there, you had open territory all the way down to here. And that's when you slow down. So you know when it's going to go fast and you know when it's going to congest. That's kind of useful. It's kind of useful to know that. Tell us where you're checking in from on the live stream. I'm watching. And we've got Mr. Bill, Dubious Ben. I like his window speak. Good. He's maybe a good guy. I don't know anything about him really, apart from he seems to be doing the crypto thing. And as I say, we expect this to continue going down. So the oh look BTC dominance is going to get an oh look BTC not so dominant on the way down. By the way, we don't beat up on BTC just for the sake of upsetting maximalists. We called this breakout out of the low boxes in the 2023 and said this is going to start a secular move to the upside that'll probably take you to this cube. We called out this cube and said you won't run the highs, but you'll do it reversal somewhere in this cube. If you go far back enough, when we were way back there, that's about 2 years ago now, you can expect that and you can find it. And where did you top? Basically in the middle of that cube. You don't make a higher high. Why? Because the inverse chart that we've been showing you of this is one grand macro where BTC loses significance immensely. Sorry, Bitcoin maximalist. Sometimes you get something that's the stage one rocket and it has all the fuel and it gets you out of gravitational pull and then it's released and it's ta-ra, and we continue our journey without you. A reduction in significance for Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin dominance to the high side is cheering this little move as a rally versus what I believe or assess, let me rather say technically, I hate that word believe, I assess technically that is a key turning event. It also shows up better on the reg scale as well as the log. You can see the channel on the reg scale. Again, it points to a reversal. So overall, that means good things for alts. So let's go over to our Ethereum and the thing we were taken on about it's going down to the 21-day exponential moving average. Exponential moving average. The dead cow that's been rotting for 21 days that you pulling out of the muddy river with your 4x4 because it's polluting the water is going to tell you whilst you're slipping and sliding on that clay riverbank pulling the dead cow which point you should turn at. You see, the cow drives the car. Or alternatively, if you're antiseptic, you think actually the driver drives the car and the engine powers the vehicle. And that actually, the decision the driver makes determines that. And that ends up leading to the mathematics of the tow rope actually determining where the cow goes. Yes, he will slip and slide a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. But guess what? He's always going to be following you. He's a scary guy. He's always following you. The weekly, let's put on that 21-day movie. Here's something you won't see me do very often, friends. Let's have a special moment together. Dead cow time. Exponential moving average. The magic is in the exponential moving average. It's not any old moving average. It's a super stinky dead cow. It's an exponential moving average. Hey, let's have fun. Remember, the default comes on at 9. So let's put it on what it's supposed to be. 21 on the weekly moving average. 21 moving average. Let's remove the one that's 9. Let's put it in there. Let's take it out. Go, go, go. Be gone, you. Let's make it nice and fat. Everyone must see. Everyone must see. Let us see what the dead cow tells us. What tells us the cow in terms of where we are going? Let's go see. What does the cow say? The magical mystery tour to the cow. The dead cow says, "Mrr." No, he doesn't even say that. There's gas trapped in his bowels, actually, and he's all bloated, and he farts in your face, and he doesn't give you any directions in any way. In fact, you turned the car, and you were leading it. It did not touch the 21 moving average. It could still, maybe, but I don't think so if this alt run is true. It could still, but the key point is, what does this tell you about anything? What does it tell you about anything? It always looks like a great trade in something that does a lot of cycles. But what does it tell you about here in the chop? What does it tell you? How many times do you go long and short and back out and churn and churn and churn? Nothing, nothing, and nothing. It is not a good, it's a lagging indicator that is basically a math formula. So I want to kill that one, but I spend a lot of time. The indicator fallacy, we have a YouTube on that. I will share that one again on social media. I go into deep dive on why dead old cows that you tow out in your 4x4 are not steering and driving your car. They're not putting any power and they're not turning the wheel. Okay, but let's move on. What about Ethereum? How's it doing? Now, we've told you about the macro setup a few times. Let's actually go back to it. It is in a long run setup. We did say it's not our favorite pattern, but it will be in many instances next cab off the rank. Quite a bit of tether being uploaded and a lot of it going through on the indicator. To remind everyone what we've said before, we do still see bandwidth for this eventuality happening, and that is the, I believe it was 13,800. Let's go back to log scale so we can fit it all in and reframe to the 13,800. The 13,800. There you go, 13,820. So we do still feel that. You've had a little bit of a skid back, which everyone called the top. There were a lot of influencers in crypto saying it's all over, it's top, everyone's going to get hammered and gimmelayed. Well, you know, you see, the thing is, they need to start inflating that alternative financial system, because guess what's happening? Most people do not realize the scale to which the dollar is now in the convexity phase of devaluing. That's why CPI is a lie. That's why I talk TradFi with you as well about what's going on. And the gold chart is, in fact, if you invert the gold chart, it's the buying power of your dollar. You're in the chronically down part. Massive change in lifestyle. This is a polarizing event for Americans. It's also going to be for other Westerners. I've always suggested the harshest measures, get out of the country. It's going to be horrible. Tax scavenge mode, poverty, begging, you name it. It's coming. Martial law, riots, everybody angry. No more the lifestyle they once had. Reneging on the social contracts of welfare, Medicaid and Medicare, unaffordable, or lagging it so much in inflationary terms that it's literally a pittance. This is what they intend to do, steal from you. Anyway, separate macro discussion. You can go to the Market Sniper and hear more about that. But in the end, this probably turns into a flag and we probably continue upside. Let's draw a flag pole on this. This is Ethereum. It's not our best and favorite. I will get to ones we prefer in a minute. But if I do that and say, okay, if that's a flag and we clone it, and how far do you go, sir? And we put it at the bottom. Shock horror. Oh my goodness. I've just done this for the first time. Fancy that. It's actually confluencing exactly with our HBF method target. Isn't that lovely? When you get confluences of highs, localized highs. You saw me do it. It's the first time I did it. And I think we're beginning that journey. Wouldn't it be nice if it did it in that time? That would mean by February 26, you've got a whole bunch up. Now, it doesn't mean that in general bull flags that it will go up at the same gradient, but if it just matched the buying power off the lows that brought it up to that point, if it just matched that, it would go up and be done in February 26th. Nice to have an alt run between now. Christmas, We're having a slightly different cycle, a little bit more of a liquidity-based cycle. Could be very interesting. Anyway, so that is Ethereum. It was one that we wanted to talk about. But one of the faves that we've steered you into a lot of times that has been very interesting is XRP USD. By the way, you're missing out on our key trade entries. We did a key trade entry that we covered and did personally with the macro community. This has big, long time frame structure. The XRP, we have long history with it. Everyone got real angry with us. When pump XRP, sniper, you said, it's kind of like I wrote a contract and said, I personally will undertake to pump your bags and turn you into a multi-millionaire for being a stupid guy who listened to a YouTube tube, and you took my word for gold and you said I had to deliver it in a certain time frame. We have never said that we can deliver this for you or that the time frame can be assured. In fact, you went sideways with a mild grind up. We did trade that cheeky one for a nice little squirt. I do remember it, but it got stamped on, and then you went again, and you went again, and that squeezed again. And that was a long old time. If you take it from the low, which was 22 mid-year, right the way to only really breaking 24, you actually had 2 years of nothingness really to get excited about. Little squeezy pop there. This was boring and double boring. Even had a bit of a pretty bearish period there. But when she came big. That's why you have to be in at the big moments. And that's why we're here, to try help you to be in the big moments. Then you can afford to join our community, and then you can be making more money more often. Because many of you say, I can't do it. Well, there's opportunities. Non-advisory, always, I please explain. This is one man and his team that are discussing their take on the crypto market. There we go. A little bit of a falling wedge in there. Also, lots of support. So we'll drop that and go into that lower bit. You remember all the weekly story and the big macro setup. That's your $19.35 for XRP. That will change its market cap immensely. He says, rhyming and spitting the lyrics. So you would go from around 3s to over, it's about 6x in overall move, even a little more to go to make 19. That would be a stupendous move and advancement, and I think we've got a decent chance of getting that. Let's go into the lower time frame and talk about the more recent price behavior. We'll stay on the daily first. So what you did see is you went sideways. XLM being the smaller one didn't do that. Let's remove that now. It's kind of drifted down. This one sort of held a line. There's been silent but violent money buying it too. Dare I mention, we gave you the localized high of 3.36, which was only taken out once or twice in this period, didn't hang on for long and down. And that was a big different time apart. That again, beginning of 2025, you missed out on 7 or 8 months hanging on most of the time below water. After this squeezy one that we gave you that target. From there, it was pretty dull. In fact, you traded a low in and around the 160s on XRP, but there is big buying at 2 generally. And when it comes in and buys it up to 2, it knows something is coming. That points to somebody with insider information, big money with big ears, listening and knowing what's going on. The big ears investors that have the phone calls, they get the tip off, they get the clues. It's coming, it will be there. So overall, let's talk more about this. We can drop it down to the 4-hourly and talk about this falling wedge, which we were discussing in the community, getting them ready. And this will be pretty supportive of, we need maybe 8 hours rather than 4. Let's go up, or maybe 10. Let's do 10 hours. 10 hours. No one ever said, give me 10 hours of your time. That's one thing they never said. Let's go here and you'll see. Over here, big third impulse up. First is biggest. Second, and then a slower drift. And then a little bit slow on the upside. And then a capitulation low. That's like, oh, damn, I can't just hold this thing anymore. I'm going to sell. This is BS. Gold is pumping. Time to go rush and buy my gold ounces. XRP ain't doing squat. And they sell out at that low. That was the low. This was the near low, and that's a marginally lower low. So you've got three lows marginally lower than the other. That is typically normally supportive of a bottoming type conduct. When you add in the basing, descending grind line with the hard sells coming in here, the hard sells and the hard sells, eventually the selling gets exhausted and the reasons start to grow for why the buyers should be in. So all the scared money is out, and you've been drifting up to the key BAGL, Bagel level, breaking the upside of a 3 impulse, falling wedge to the upside is our call. That is inherently bullish. Please be reminded, though, you can do that and you can have a return move before you do that. It's quite common. It does happen. So if you go over leveraged, you will get scared. You'll buy the localized high. You'll get flushed out. You'll lose money. HVF method, real method for maximizing using judicious leverage with tight stops and disproportionate rewards. That's the key. And volatility constrictions are your gift, and falling wedges are a part of that. They are a part of falling volatility as well. Good to see you all. We'll be getting back to our friend on his chosen tokens once we've done all that we want to do. So XRP, good. But the one we preferred a little more because it kind of gives us a possibility of something a tiny bit different. Bear in mind, it's not as liquid. It's not as liquid. So we started whaling in yesterday. We were already talking about the totals. I should do a bit of totals in this before I rip through all the tokens. Very similar to XRP, only you bounced a little higher. It's a little bit higher beta. It's trotting on. It's now above 40 cents. We were buying at the 33s, 34s, 35s, 36s, 37s and 8s, and just stacking it up and putting on some leverage trades. Again, this is a slowing, little bit of a shooting star. You could have a down pull here, and it could come some way before you go again. But generally, I would imagine it at least gets up to the late 40s, and maybe it does a winding up or just keeps trucking. And then we have a very big number. We have a very big number for the XRP guys. We did do that on YouTube. That's Chris McIntosh and Capital Cosm. You should certainly check them out. Let's have a look at the Crypto Sniper. Did we cover this? We did. You should see what we post about, because typically it's the most interesting place for us technically. A future star performer, Stellar Lumen, 5 days ago. We'd also done all the total analysis. Let's throw in some total analysis after we finish with XLM, just to give you the macro picture for cryptos generally. Everyone's going to ask about their particular project. Get in the best one technically, but most alts that are worth anything are going to go up right now, if what we're saying is true. The Bitcoin dominance down. Generally, Bitcoin up in nominal terms in dollars, devaluing dollars at a rapid rate, I need to say, and the alts will run. So that is a trigger, but this is a great macro pattern here that comes up under here quite sharp. So that is your macro pattern. That will give you potentially in over $14.9, virtually $15. That's huge for something that you're buying now at 40 cents, by the way. So that, if it was 50 cents, you would still be looking at 30x. Again, can I guarantee anything about time frames? No. Can I guarantee anything about whether it'll all happen in this one cycle and that you won't have a interim level 2 pullback and a mini bear market for a while and then the next liquidity cycle? Because I don't think we're on a 4-year cycle anymore. I've been saying that this is going down, and as Bitcoin dominance retreats, long run, we see Bitcoin dominance retreating a great deal. And this all being part of a memory, a phase that existed for a while, and it'll become more like other markets, which is also part of how they naturalize and normalize the cryptos to be slightly more stable as well than the fundamentals that you've typically been used to. So you had a channel down there. You found a base around about there, which is about 38% of the left from the move up. Maybe a bit more, actually. Maybe in between 38 and 50%. And you've done very similarly again. And now we are seeing a potential break. So if this goes to here, we could get a squeeze within a squeeze, and that's why that makes us doubly excited. Even if it pulls back, we won't be sad. We'll just stack some more, and then we'll expect the break and the beginning of what should be a very fruitful move for crypto. A very fruitful move for crypto. Okay. By the way, live trading day with me tomorrow. That's a bit of information. You can join like you're joining here, but instead of on YouTube with a more grainy screen, you can get a better looking chart, tighter resolution, better audio. We do it to a far higher standard, and you can sit an hour and a half in traditional markets and crypto markets, most importantly, because the opportunities are dropping. And you can ask questions during that period and put your favorite token in, preferably not too many gazillions of shitcoins that are all part of the YouTube spam along the bottom. By the way, we clean out all of that so that you can have a conversation away from the spam bots. But, you know, they are a nuisance. So big move. And interestingly enough, this is quite an interesting flag move. And I'll show you why that's kind of interesting, because if we draw our big setup is there. You'll see the first interim is confluencing quite nicely with that flag move. And normally later you get added a little bit more. Once you're getting closer to that future point of a breakout, the first target is the most conservative, and then as they're getting closer and they can see there's enough jam left at the bottom of the tin, they'll give you a little bit more than the original. So they refine it. It starts conservative number and then they refine it up. And that's typical of that. So flag, you could have a move run to 157. Then the next pause area, 476, it'll just be before 5. And unsurprisingly, a pause area before 15, which is lots of round numbers. You might make the 15, but you won't hold it for that long. Typically, targets aren't made to the cent. They are run through. It's like the 100-meter sprint. People don't stop on the line. They clear the line, but generally they stop running a short period or thereafter. Okay, so that is the Stellar Lumens upside. That is a huge one. They'll have to pump a few more tokens, I think. The liquidity will go up and the value will go up immensely. So very, very bullish on that. We've covered ETH, we've covered XRP, let's look at those totals and we'll come back to some tokens on the tail end. So total is mainly Bitcoin by size, and you know it's about 50% of market cap. It's almost, to me, one of the not so interesting ones. The most interesting for this period right now is actually Total 3. That eliminates for me the Ethereum weight of Total 2, and you'll see it. But generally, this is broadly positive, squeezing higher. So these are the interim phases where you kind of squeeze a little bit up. You can have some drama in between there. Of course, that was CV19. But then you get your subsequent surges. And then you get your bear markets. Surge, bear markets, squeezing higher. This is all quite low vol stuff. And I think you keep going up, mainly because of Bitcoin in here. It's over dominant influence to the 150 on Bitcoin. So that's your walkout. It's going to be a walkout for crypto. I'm looking at the weekly, but we can also drop the time frame and not be lazy on our assessment of this. And you can see again, there has been a degree of rejection in around these levels. There's a box level here. It's been somewhat stubborn. The good news about that is that it turns support once you get through it. And it sort of starts at the 4 trillion mark. And you're just through it at the moment on a wick, and you're getting a bit of rejection now. So hence why I said on Bitcoin, you might get that small right shoulder. You had a smaller on Bitcoin left shoulder, and then you had the W. Remember, this has the other tokens in it as well. So you might wind up as part and parcel of properly breaking the 4 trillion mark and then having that wall as support for you as you work up instead of resistance right now. So that would be all I'd probably say on the total, given its Bitcoin dominance. The bigger action is going to come on these lower ones. We're going to Total 3 via Total 2. And this is a reasonably interesting one as well. So overall, you're only just getting on alt markets. Let's remove that line in the middle of nowhere. You're only just getting to a point where you're starting to clear the high. Please note that you are at the previous bull market high. So you haven't broken out on Total 2 yet, officially, into new territory. You're just getting to that point. And a large part of that, again, will be Ethereum. We have highlighted this small shoulder, slightly larger right shoulder, and overall square bottom head over there, which was interesting squeeze in there that we spoke about, particularly on the euro. We traded ETH against the euro there. It was a better structure, which was a period when euro was weaker than dollar back then, not what you've been having more recently. And that's a neckline. And we said, okay, overall 3.24 trillion, which given where Ethereum is and a large part of that, 1.66 to 3.24, you're talking about a doubling. You're talking about a doubling in that alone, which isn't the final target either. Some might say you also have, like the silver chart, on a smaller scale. So let me just draw that different color for you so you don't get too confused. A degree of cup and handle here as well. So a lot of technical good stuff going on there. And a move from here would again generate, you'll go beyond the 3.24 target. It'll be one of many targets, I think, that will see you at least double, potentially some more. But the one I really want to show you and talk to you about is the total 3, where I think a lot more lively action is going on. And they are where I think the best hunting is going to be had. Again, the cup and handle draw for you, which is basically an ascending upside HVF as well. I will draw that. There you go. You are at that break point. You are at that break point right now. So that is 1.13. Let's bring it down a little bit and get a bit more real estate. We're on the weekly time frame. Let's clean. Oh, whoops, not that one. Clean that out. So you have a pretty good draw there. You have a pretty good draw, and for us, you also have it as a big impulse. And you might have just done with a dip there and are ready to go. Bear in mind, once you break, you can still have a return move. So don't be oversized, because if you're unlucky and you choose the wrong one, you could be in trouble. Do you still think we might see a dip from the XRP, says the Versatile? Thank you for your contribution to the channel. I will go back to XRP and I will re-answer that when I finish on total 3, the Versatile. So thank you for your question, and I'll ensure I answer that. Broadly, it was the last stream we did, we said, look, it's coming, Bitcoin's coming down quite hard. It needs to support. It did support, and it supported violently. I said, how do we be wrong about this? I always ask that question, and I said, if it supports at the 108 and it turns violently, then it'll change the picture. And basically, that's exactly what happened on Bitcoin. So it helps to describe your scenario for how we be wrong for everything every time you put forward a view. Whenever you're talking about the future, you don't know the future. I'm never going to tell you I know the future. We have on balance of probability targets and forecasting that give you a better chance of success than failure for the degree that you are getting an asymmetrically tight risk to a very expansive reward. That's the mathematics. In the long run, take enough of them and you win. That doesn't mean 100% hit rate. So on the XRP, it does appear now from the falling wedge that those have turned, to answer the Versatile's question. It does appear now, and that's the fact that Bitcoin came down to 109 and reversed really hard. So I am answering his question now, but I'm not putting the chart up. So we've got to go back to Bitcoin to do that. So let's just maybe finish with that. In fact, I'm done with total 3. You can see this is a very strong cup and handle, and it looks like you're getting ready to break. And can I point out, which is part of the Versatile's question, is that when you come and meet the lip of the cup, you do get some reaction. The question is that sufficient reaction? Let's just zoom it in so everyone can see it. And I think it can be. This rising wedge can be a moon one, or you go for a third impulse before you get a down move. So let me explain that. You've got a rising wedge here up to a very key level of significance, the 1.13 that we've identified, which is the top of the lip of the cup there and the other side of the cup with your big rounded bottom. All of those good things. And now we're doing the handle. That's this kind of triangular handle. And we say when you run the 1.13, because it's proven to be a selling point before, much like the silver, you get a rejection once, twice. Now, is that rejection the 3, and are we now breaking at the 4 that close to each other? Well, it is a weekly time frame, so each candle is a week. It could be. You could drift up into the wedge a while longer, still be in the wedge, and then you can get your return move on a sell-off out of the wedge, and then you go again. So it doesn't mean you can be sloppy. It doesn't mean you're going to be sloppy. When you are interacting on the break point, that key level where you're going from being below and going into new territory, you often get some impulsiveness up, and then you can get a pullback down. But I would say this looks pretty convincing. It's very low vol. You got sort of one big impulse there. You got a second one into a low here. We might still have the third impulse to go, and that goes up in the rising wedge, which means you continue to go up a bit more. So as I say, I think we're done. When I look at the XRP and the XLM falling wedges, the very clear 3, that's on a lower time frame. It's not the weekly time frame. When you do it like that, it does look like it's done. This is quite a key conviction move. You came back to here. Again, you can see it was quite hard to the down. You were playing with a line, marginally higher high, looking a bit tired. You had a basing ascending grind line. So let out all the panic kids, smash down, comes back to the base level there. Now you're back in and you're working your way back up. So that, I would say it's over. I would say that's enough of a move to be over, but as far as you can, I'm biasing to that being the case. So that's that. So so that's total 3. Looking good, cup and handle, ascending upside HVF, big market caps to the upside. Let's see if we can do anything on it as a draw. This was my challenge for telling you how much by trillions it goes up, because I believe I managed to do that. This might be a little bit of fancy footwork, so be patient. So if we do it, a draw on it, and put that particular, and then we have to get rid of the high there on that shooting star. It's just a bit tricky because it's trillions. That's the problem. It's got so many decimals. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it. That's why we battled, because this has about 7 or 9 digits. I have to copy and remember and paste in. So it's not going to be easy to do, but it's a simple rule of thumb. Let's do this and draw it manually. A simple rule of thumb, which will be guidance, will be, I think that's our final low there. That's amplitude, whilst logarithmic, projected from our midpoint, which is around there. Let's make sure we are log scale. Yes, we are. So in terms of type 3, this goes quite a long way, friends. 3.35, you're at 1.13. That's a 3x on that before you have a meaningful rest. It doesn't mean it's over. It just means that's a big surge and then a pause period. But that's 3x on most of them. That means most of your cryptos in the total 3 will be going up 3 times. That's pretty high. That's pretty high. Project. I think I've broadly projected from the correct area. I've done it visually. It might be a tiny bit higher actually because I'm on log scale. I'll do a manual draw of that, and I'll maybe share it on Twitter later with a little bit more accuracy. But you're around there. You're around 3.5 trillion, and you're at 1.13 trillion now. So you're looking at a safe 3x, I would argue, in my opinion, on an upside structure here for the total 3, which is not Bitcoin and Ethereum, but everything else. So let's go back in. We did XLM, we did XRP, we've done totals 1 through 2 to 3. We had inquiry 4. There was a super chat, and I will also be getting to HBAR and the likes. Let's just go and find our super chat. That was Algo Rand. So let's get that done early. The gentleman's waiting patiently. Algo Rand on Binance. And so the reason I'm less enthusiastic, and I remember this token when I see the chart, is that it didn't hold up well during the bad periods, Jack. So Jack Gould, just addressing you specifically and everyone else who's interested, you want tokens that are firm in the bad times, that show underlying. That's why I was pointing out XRP and that $2. It did trade below $2. It was quickly bought back above, even though it went right down to 160 and one. On a weekly time frame, that was just a wick because it got bought back up. There's real accumulation and demand. Those people know something. The XRP people know something coming. The problem you have here is listing. You were at once $3.50, and bang, you ended up 8 cents. Now you can appreciate 8 cents on $1 is 8%. On 3.5, you're talking around 2%, 3%. That's a heck of a fall in range. That means a 97% loss in value. It has had a bit of upsides. We have done TA before on it, but it's hanging too heavy on its previous bull high. So even if we just not take the listing high and I just draw this fib, how relatively strong? Someone will say, you're talking about relative strength. How do I measure that? Go to your last bull high of alt season, which was 2021, before San Bankman-Fried did stealing all my shekels, and you go to your low at the bear market and you run a fib 100% down to zero. And then you have a look and ask yourself, where am I today, Jack? Where am I today? And the truth of the matter is you're from 8 cents up at 22 cents. And I know this one is one of those chosen ISO and all of that. It's just not in the first round yet. It's not getting the respect and love that an XRP is getting. It's not even getting the respect and love that an XLM is getting. And here's 23.6%. That red line. That means you're at less than a quarter, but approaching a quarter. Currently, at the footholds of a alt bull run, you're less than a quarter on your previous high. That means you have to do a 4x to get to the peak of your bull market previously, and only then are you making money. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? So that's not good. That's why I don't like it. Jack also asked for Velo, so let's do that. By the way, just so that you can see that in reg, how flat, what a bottom feeder it is. There's your 100%, and there's your 0%. That's how close you are to 0. You're not even halfway to 23. Halfway would be somewhere up here at 47 cents. You're not even a quarter of the way, I would say. You're probably a 20% of the way to 1 quarter. So 1/20th, it's pretty garbage. We show you tokens that have shown real bear market relative strength to other cryptos and even to their downsides. So Velo, you can see what I'm going to say straight away there. It's not being shown in this, Jack. It's not. It's not, but I'd love to tell you better news. You know, I appreciate people that respect our time and want to put a custom request and do that. I haven't got any good news for you. The way we assess relative strengths is this token is flat. It's a bottom feeder. It is plankton, half dead on the bottom of the Mariana Trench with one of those weird eyes, but it not shining so bright. That's how far down it is. It's just bad. It's just not good. Let me just put in Tron as an alternative, which has coinomics in it. Compare that to its 2021 high, and you're actually, through inflation, walking out significantly higher. You had a 223.6. Remember, we want to invest. We're investing, and then we are position trading. We want a good horse. You want a fast horse and a consistent horse, not the fastest, but then goes dead and sleeps and hibernates for 3.5 years. One that's pretty firm in the tough times as well, because you need him in the tough times if you're investing. That is such a difference from its 2021 high than the others that you've seen there. This has got, you know, a negative inflation rate. it just being accumulated, it will walk out stronger, and then it'll still have pump days and surge days like this week was when XRP last surged, which was kind of cusp of the year end last year, 24 going 25. So hopefully you feel served there, but it's not good news. But I'll always tell you exactly how it is seen. So we spoke of HBAR. Now I will tell you I prefer XLM right now to HBAR. But that doesn't mean HBAR is bad. It's got a good structure right now, but not as good as XLM. Let's get one with a bit more history. There we go. So you will see, again, by our test of relative strength, let's remove that and put that fib. It's not as bad as Velo. It's not as bad as Algorand, but it's no Tron. It's somewhere in between 23.6 and 38.2. How well supported is your token in the tougher times? Actually, you get greater performance out of those tokens because they're proven winners, even though you think and want to. Here's the psychology. You want to buy something cheap. Guess what? The really cheap things stay cheap and they become more cheap. What you actually want to do is buy quality and pay a bit more and watch everyone else realize what quality is later when the news comes and pumps your bags. Okay? That's how it works. That's a sad fact about how it works. So it's better. HBAR is better, but it's still some way down. It's still some way down. Tron is well through. It's past its previous high on a walkout. It's been my investment hold token. Ask the community. They got sick of hearing me say it, the word. They are been investment long most of this period. But now there's some things that might move faster because it's been consistently giving us and growing our bag. Even when we've had all the false starts for the alt run, it's walked out to the upside. While you guys have been holding things that get slammed. So you've had one surge, a drift down, and a part surge. Here's the bit that's a bit better news for the HBAR fans. It's got the final two impulses of XLM. These are the ISO and the ETF likelihood. That's a falling wedge breakout potentially in the making, much like the XLM XRP. I think a little behind. That's a good surge, and that was a good surge. But you get that on XLM and XRP. So you needed to follow through and break. It might just be about XLM, but if it does what XLM and XRP does, I think it will do that. And it could be about to get interesting. I would like to see the up, and I'd like to see a pause, and then and maybe a pullback, and then a go. Then at least you will have here the structure. It's still got a bit to do. It's got to get up and out and come back down. XLM, because of its bigger structure backed into it, it's already in a setup that has three impulses. It's now doing a wind up within a wind up. I'm much more excited about that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that's HBAR. So good things coming for HBAR, but the best technical chart wins. And it's going to be those two, XLM and XRP for me. So HBAR. Oh, and then the other one we regularly remind you of that we said you should hold. You heard it here. How many YouTubers are regularly and consistently talking about XMR? How many, he says? Who's your best boy? Who'd you love? Who'd you love most? Hit the like button and the share to show your love. And remember, the live trading day will go into much deeper detail than this. This is just a quick hit up to try and give you some guidance and some upwind where you want to skew. This will help you eventually be able to afford to join us in that which we do. So if I do the XMR, you can see this. We've been saying to you, it's coming. This one will be coming around the mountain when she comes. Yeah. Coming around the mountain when she comes. And of all of them, some will go Zcash and this and all these other. This was your security privacy token. This was your privacy token. And if we have a look at it and we gave you the big time frame numbers, we had to do a little bit of manipulation, which isn't required on XRP and XLM, but in every other way It's been very, very good. Let's try get it on a Kraken then. If it's the biggest one, where do I have my crib notes and my draws? You've just made, so this is interesting on the more recent. We had this upside double bottom. You made that target, and then you had an overrun by some way, and then you had a big correction. That sometimes can happen. You overrun a bit too zealously, and then you have a hard landing on the back leg. But that is now walking back out. This is a very good structure for us. We like it. We like it a lot. Let's go 2 weeks. We can probably make it 2 or 3 weeks. Let's go 3 weeks. The man of unusual time frames. Give me 10 hours of your day over 3 weeks. This is your boy, and that's why he's going to play big for you. And that for us is your third high, which is the breakout commence. So your stop loss would be down there on the big time frames. We would refine that on lower time frames. We're on a 3 weeker, remember? But that's breakout, and it's turning like it wants it. It's turning like it wants it. And we've consistently reminded you that this is one that's going to be an overperformer as well. And who doesn't want privacy? Boy, oh boy, that's going to become rare. That's sure going to become rare, indeed. Good. Let's have a look at your other comments. The versatile was answered, and we have Freddie Moses. Thank you, Freddie, for your contributions. Could you take a look at Sue? Looks like an HVF. Thank you for your love. Let's have a look at Sue USD in respect to Freddie. We go Coinbase. So we have spoken of this one fairly positively. So he's not wrong. He's our man from the United Kingdom, Freddie Moses. Right now, it's not my most beautiful, which is why we're not talking about it, but there is something. I'm surprised none of you said hype or something like that, because that's also getting some big moves. So it looks like to me, stop drawing lines, right click, get it done. It looks like to me we've got a little bit of, there's a couple of ways you frame, Sue. Let's just get rid of all my mess and my sketchings. There's a couple of ways. So overlay draw. One is the big macro like that. My concern with that is I think you went higher here. So this is all one complex second impulse like that. So the question is that enough for us to say it's done? I'm not sure. I think it's a little slower than, you see, it also didn't have such a nice falling wedge as the other one. It's more a channel. So I don't think it's broken out. It's crossing a flag. And it's a pity that that is higher a little bit, because you might have had a smaller setup here like that, which we could have waited for. But it's not quite perfect on anything, but it will be stronger. It's broadly a pretty bullish structure that I expect to see trade higher. So it's a good general token. Is it the one that's going to be the one that's first to give you a big face ripping move with the best high probability? I'm going to steer you again to the XLM. We always talk and we filter and we give you our best always. You're just not getting it first. The others are getting it first. It's already moved normally by the time you're getting it, but we never give you our fourth best and our fifth best. So it's looking positive. But it could do a few more things before it's ready to run. It could do a few more things before it's ready to run. Might have been a little bit of a bagel there. I'm usually drawing in transgender pink, but you had a breakthrough and then you come back up. So it was a little bit bought up, a little bit too steeply bought up along the lows. And then it just couldn't support that anymore, and it had a little slip out, and now it's coming back in. So I think it's mainly moving with the general stirring of the alt market. It's not independently strong, this current movement. It's drifting across its flag. It's not a breakout. It's not at a breakout. Compare that now visually, technically. And it also has quite, while I'm at it, it also has quite a strong sell based here, where it's being rejected. there, 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 and there. So a little bit of a semi-lid. It did get through it over here, but it didn't stay above it for too long. So a little bit of winding up needed, but this looks like a continuation pattern, kind of like gold when we were a bit early. In that it does this, it goes one more time, fake break, comes back in, maybe even sells off, then gives you your go, and then you go. So I don't think it's the first runner, and your first are often your best. A little bit complex here, but not bad. It hasn't fallen apart. There are buyers that are coming in. It's quite evident. So it's going to be a decent performer, and it might have a later stage where it face melts. But right now, is it the priority choice? Remember, we want to put timing-wise, who's the next that's going to start a major significant repricing exercise? We want to be in that one. The others will have theirs often later, and if you get the first ones, you get to roll into them as they come due and start playing catch up. So money's going to go into everything, but in order of the ETFs and the market cap typically, although ETH is a little bit of an inverted comma. It might be the next cab of the rank, but you might suddenly see a lot more love just going into number 3 and 4 on the list, and 5. Do note that XRP has flipped Binance. Remember, we told you, Sol and BNB are 2 others that I'll finish on. Sol USD, thank you for your super chat, by the way, to the individual involved. Get this and a whole bunch more with our non-farm payrolls day trading, that live trading day on the fake number. This has got a lot of, so remember I was doing the total twos and I was talking about the cup and handle. This is kind of very cup and handle-esque. It does need to, unlike the total 2, it still needs to get to that point. Let me draw that line more correctly, horizontally. Let's hold a key finger down. So it's kind of made it, and there's that V-shaped handle again. It's quite a deep cup. So it was quite high volatile. Let's make sure. Yeah, we're in log scale. So it had a heck of a correction, Sol, in 2023. My, oh my. But then it had a superior run up. So it was very volatile, fell badly. It spiked back up strongly, but a bit high beta. If you compare it to its previous high, it is at least by our relative strength assessment in the 90s on your fib test. Remember the fib test I told you? High to low. You can see 78.6, you're above it. You might be in the 80s, not the 90s. You see that? So if we just wipe that, so it's pretty good. It's not a Tron. It's not a walkout. Keeps giving you more on the quiet periods. Very good hold in between seasons and winter. And will have a run in the summer as well. It's an outperformer generally. But XLM and XRP, I think, are going to be the biggest short-term next stage runners compared to this. BNB, not loved, but actually strong. Often a stronger token than most give. You had your $1,000 run. Your $1,000 run. This is another one that leaves its 2021 high behind. It's the only other one that matches, that does something like what Tron has done. Sad to say, because nobody wants an exchange token per se, but you've got the fact that it's got a chain. They established that, and it's in demand. You are through on BNB. And it started its run sooner. Again, that was a little setup. There's a big one and a small one. There was that in there. We should probably draw that. We quite possibly got a target that's still not made there, or just made. We might have to check that. And then there was also this little one that initially looked bearish to us and ended up walking out and making target as well. So it's a if you were to just sleep 4 years, and which tokens do you put them in? Tron and BNB, and then I would include XRP and XLM. Those would be the 4. Monero and Monero. That's your 5 right there. And they're all big caps. They're all big caps. I know a hype and a SUI could suddenly face melt, but I think those big caps, this coin market cap is going to harden a lot more. There's going to be less changes. As the market caps get a lot bigger and more stable. Thank you, Jay. That's very kind. We appreciate it. Much love to you for the share without any request. So here's what you should expect in the top 10 and 20. The names are going to harden a lot more. It's going to be quite a bit harder for something to rip its way in as we get older. And that is part of the maturing and the stability of the market. I don't think Litecoin ever comes back into the top 10. I don't think Bitcoin Cash will, to be honest. You'll get the occasional, like a hype that's on the border and the chain link, but I don't think it's going to be easier, as easy as it was. You're going to have, and what's going to happen is the degree of growth and money and the liquidity is going to chase the already big caps. So you get this doom loop of success breeds further success, while not quite being successful means you never get a cut or a chance. And that sees, and again, since Crypto Sniper has been on the airways, I think it was 2016 we started this channel. Thank you for your subscriptions, by the way. We're at 60.6 thousand for the last 9 years of work with you, and we appreciate you all. And I can tell you, we've said focus on the top 10. We rarely go into the top 15. We almost never go out beyond the top 25. And 90% of our coverages are all names that you know, or become to be known quite soon. If they've had the success, and you want liquidity, scale to be successful, and the insiders know and are backing that and giving it scale and giving it the project. So that's why it is. So yeah, lots of important message for you. You're looking at if you want to look at the tokens, the list of tokens that are going to substantially change your wealth, don't go and find shitcoin 942 and hope and bet $1,000 there in the off chance it does the moonshoot. You're looking at them here, and the move will make you the money. These things that are sitting at 100 billion market cap need to be trillions. Yeah, big moves, big inflation. The winners were chosen long ago. There's no democracy, guys. Selected, not elected. Please understand. And it goes for everything. Apple, Microsoft, Palantir, Larry Ellison of Oracle, all the criminals and frauds with the NVIDIA circle jerks, all of it. Selected, not elected. Your crypto market cap, your growth sits here in this screen view. Take one thing from me today. It's an alt market coming and your winners are here. Yes, one ARB coin is going to do a higher percentage and might fizzle and go bottom feeder like Velo at some point or some other. But sustainable liquidity and long-term growth for investing and maximizing, we will keep moving you in different balances between all of these is what we aim to do in our community, which is about building wealth, securing that wealth that you build more robustly across multiple jurisdictions, and securing your life of greater freedom with multiple options beyond the boundaries of your existing state and nation. That is our core goal. Wealth, protect that wealth, optionality for freedom, lifestyle. We do not do it with 9 screens. We position trade. Our stops are known. Our take profits are in. You could have been in Stellar a little bit earlier, but I'm happy to have you in it now, and I hope you will make money along with us. And I'm delighted for you if you do. But remember, non-advisory, a man and a YouTube channel. That's it. No more, no less. But the key gift is we have access to HVF method to and all the gifts it's given us over the years in terms of positioning. And we've hodled in Tron during the tough times and USDT combination of, and we've continued to preserve our pot rather than see it sink all the way back down to low significance compared to its previous high. And that's my big concern. There will still be a bear market. Bear markets haven't been banned. You need to maximize this time, guys, because it could be your biggest and your best. You need to maximize it this time. It could be your biggest and best, and then you will be best set up potentially for life if you maximize it correctly. Okay, with that, I love you and leave you. Thank you for watching. We had, I don't know how many of you coming on. If you've liked and shared, we appreciate you double. 549 watching. Those are where the action is. You can tell Ben I say hi. I have a more receding hairline than him, and Ethereum never made the exponential dead cow that chased my car all the way home. You can tell him. It didn't make it the 21 week. It didn't do it. Tell Ben. But it's okay. We're all wrong. We're all right. It happens all the time. He's probably a good guy. But you can tell him anyway. Okay. Till next time. Catch you later. Bye-bye.